Next on Relevant Radio, your favorite weekly appointment. It's time for the Nazareth Project. Faith, marriage, and family talk for the everyday Catholic. With your host, Lydia Lococo.
Good morning, Milwaukee, on this frosty, blustery end of October weekend. Welcome to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the everyday Catholic. I'm your host, Lydia Lococo. I was thinking about what to talk with you about this week, and I wanted to share a unique experience recently that I had, and here it is. I told the truth. That's right. I simply stated the truth to someone. For those of you who know me, write that down, please. I stated the truth in a circumstance when we usually don't tell the truth. Well, I'm not saying we lie. Someone that I truly like, whose company I enjoy, and with whom I want to continue a relationship, posed a question in what could be perceived as a guilt-ridden, kind of manipulative manner. You know what I'm talking about. You all experience the same thing. I was waiting for you to return my phone call, and you never did. Or, you're just so busy, I guess I'll just never see you again. Instead of someone honestly stating their desire to see you or communicate something they need, instead there's a little bit of a pinch, maybe a little guilt, some kind of emotional manipulation. Instead of fawning back or asking forgiveness or overly apologizing, I calmly and simply stated the truth. I simply and quietly affirmed my desire to see them, and then I explained that this had indeed been a very busy time in my life, that I do want to see them, and that if they had not heard from me, it's only because of my schedule. It has nothing to do with our relationship. Suffice it to say, I am talking about real situations where you know that you're not at fault, but for the sake of argument, ask yourself, in your head, or out loud if you're alone in your car, how often you sometimes really don't engage in honest communication. Honest communication begins with communicating with yourself, and it means responding with what is true for you, regardless of how someone might react. If you live a life defined by pleasing others, you will never discover what is really true for you, how you truly feel. A dishonest yes is a no to yourself. I'll give you 2 examples. Your teenage daughter wants to borrow the car for a late-night party. The roads are icy. You're exhausted. You just can't face another night of waiting up, gripping the arms of the chair. But this party means everything to her, and she communicates that she will hate you forever if you don't let her go. When you hesitate, what are you thinking right then? You have to ask yourself, is it true that she will hate you forever? What does that mean? Another example is your best friend asked to leave his dog in your tiny apartment to go on an extended 3-week vacation. Where does charity end and honest communication begin? A sincere no to them might just be a yes to you. What I'm getting at is that it's possible to love and be loved without conditions. Sometimes you have to say no, and that's okay. Honestly communicating begins with communicating with yourself. It means responding with what is true for you, regardless of how someone might react to your answer. I was raised in the Deep South in the 60s, and also I'm female. You know what that means? I was raised to cajole, to please, and to apologize. And I know plenty of other professional women who have to work on how they operate in the workplace. You knock on the door, while at the same time you're saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you." You spend your life play acting in a sense. I know people who do it in their marriages, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. And it goes both ways. Knowing the difference between loving someone and wanting him to do what you want doesn't mean that you can't ask for what you need and want. You can, knowing that his answer has nothing to do with his love for you. You will discover that asking for what you need is much easier when it's free of hidden agendas. Intimacy opens us up on both sides when we take the time in our prayer and our reflection to honestly assess our needs and wants, and then to speak truthfully to others. If you're not a clear communicator, like me, you may live your entire life unloved and misunderstood, not ever realizing that if you just say what you wanted, the whole world could change. But we have to remember that the first step in honest and clear communication is deep prayer with the Lord And in order to discover his will for us, and then we need to ask him how to help us really uncover who we are, what we think, and what we feel. That is communicating with yourself and with him. I am going to come back after our little break, and I'm going to be very happy to have Father Luke Strand, the Director of Vocations for the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, in our studio. He is a great guy going gangbusters, and there is a very special week coming up that I want to tell you about. So we're going to take a quick break right now, and when we come back, we'll be chatting with Father Luke. You're listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. We'll be right back.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's co-office manager Dar Sinoni. Dar, tell us about Uptown.
And working here 24 years, you actually see how they treat their customers not so much as just a customer, but more as a family member. You know, they're very concerned about their well-being, their kids, what they're doing. And I think a lot of people like that, and I think that's why they come back. They like the family feeling. Oh, in 24 years, I've seen a lot of repeat customers. I mean, basically, you end up knowing them by name, you know, because you see them so much. So there's quite a bit of people that come in here over and over again and buy their cars.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick. It's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned, Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We're back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Here's your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. I'm Lydia Lococo, and with me in the studio today, in honor of the upcoming National Vocation Awareness Week, is your friend of mine, everybody's man about town, Father Luke Strand. Hi, Father Luke.
Hey, Lydia. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
Great.
I wish I had some dirt on Father Luke, like, you know, where the bodies are buried, because you all know Father Luke, he's like everybody's best friend. I got nothing. He was ordained in 2009. Guess we didn't know that one. That he was raised
5 years, though. I'm an old priest now. Longer a baby
You're
priest.
not the new priest anymore, buddy.
No longer a baby
so
priest.
So sorry. They're looking younger, too, aren't they?
My brother's taking that role. He looks like he's 12.
I saw him at City Market, and Father Jacob Strand, I love you. He looks very distinguished in his clerics, but he does look a bit younger than you. I don't know how to break that to you.
You know, all the vocation candidates call him Father Strand 2.0 with a new and improved version. Just so you know.
I have 4 daughters that have gone through Divine Savior, and my daughters their first name are all Mary, and so they don't call them by their middle name that they go by. They call them Mary 1, Mary 2, Mary 3, and Mary 4. Anyway, Father Luke has served as Vocation Director for the Archdiocese of Milwaukee since 2012. And coming into a new office, and any new office, all of you can understand this, you really do make it your own. It's your vision of what a vocations office should be. And especially in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, something like a vocations office has kind of been very many different animals. Is that a good way to say it? So here's your first question. November 2nd through the 9th is National Vocation Awareness Week, and this celebrates vocations to the priesthood, the diaconate, and the consecrated life. But you deal specifically with, obviously, the priesthood. Talk about, I guess, your 2 years that you've just come back from a national conference. Talk about what vocation directors do and what your colleagues around the country do.
You know, as you talk about creating an office, I think what the colleagues are doing is moving less and less, moving more away from just a direct office approach and moving to a relational approach. At the end of the day, Jesus called his disciples to follow him, and they walked with him, and he walked with them. And whether we're encouraging vocations to religious life, consecrated life, the permanent diaconate, to the priesthood, we have to be willing to make the sacrifice to walk with these men in discernment. No one comes to me and says, "Hey, Father Luke, I want to be a priest."
I mean, I think I don't get mad at us. Don't get mad.
Right.
But I thought you sat in a nice office with a really good pen and kind of nice nice stationery. And I thought you sat in the office and the nice young men who are real clean cut call you and say, hi, could I speak to the vocations director? It doesn't work like that?
That is, I wish I knew what world you were living in. That might be a fun world. No, I mean, these guys
called the 1960s.
Yeah, right. They come with complicated lives, and they come with this little tug on their heart. And they're like, Father, help me figure this out. What is Jesus asking of me? How do I grow in my relationship with him? How do I better serve the church? What will this mean if I pursue the seminary? What does seminary life even look like? I've had no experience of anyone in my life who's ever pursued the priesthood before. I have no idea, what my life is going to look like in 3 or 4 years. And so it's walking them through each stage of the process.
Can't you just make a DVD and show it to them?
Right. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun and easy? And yet, I think you got to go back to how Jesus invited men to follow him, as, his disciples, and follow that same very primordial, gritty call story. It isn't neat. It isn't all figured out in a box. There isn't a perfect process. So we're trying to help walk with these guys.
And do you find, and I think you'd find this in marriage preparation too, and I see it in my children's friends, and that we're a really wounded society as far as family life. Mm. And so they're also coming, they're not coming, I mean, I don't mean to be stereotypical, it's not Ozzie and Harriet, but they really aren't coming from Ozzie and Harriet, right? They may be children of divorce or... Right, and their lives are complicated that way. People's lives are complicated.
Name someone that that doesn't have a complicated life, that doesn't have pain and struggle, in their life. And that's the reality that every single human person experiences. So clearly that's going to be the reality, these men, in discernment are coming in with as well. And yet it's in that suffering that God has such a powerful ability to work. It's in that struggle that Christ meets them, in a very personal and in a very intimate way. And then when going through all of that themselves, how much more beautifully they're able to introduce the Lord who they've encountered to other people.
I want to ask one question. I got so many questions for you. Gosh darn it.
We only have 15 minutes.
I know. Okay. It's not a numbers game, but it's hard living out in the culture as a follower of Jesus Christ. And every so often we do need a little good news. Mm-hmm. So I welcome and praise God for every one seminary vocation we have. So it's not a numbers thing. But I'm very interested in how many young men we do have studying.
Yeah, this year we added 13 brand new seminarians who had not been in any level of formation before to our seminaries, college seminary and major seminary. So we're now at 33 seminarians for the Archdiocese. And these are men who are taking their discernment seriously. I think that so often there's this misconception that when a man enters a seminary, they're going to be ordained. When a man enters seminary, they're entering into a formalized discernment process. And
I think I embarrassed my son, who's, I don't know if people know he's a seminarian, and he's in Rome. And I said, has anyone discerned out yet? Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, Mom, I think they wait till seminary actually starts because they start in October. He was like, Mom, hey. But I take it very seriously.
Right.
Somebody might have gotten over there and said, you know what, I already can tell I'm not going to fit in and this isn't what I want. So.
It's important not to ordain a man before he's ordained. I mean, the seminary is a time for them to say, is this where God is leading me? And that's why I think we should have hordes of men seeking seminary as the clear place for them to discern priesthood, where they don't have to have the entire weight of discernment on their own shoulders, but suddenly they let the church become involved in that discernment. You have formators saying, is this guy called to be a priest? You have a spiritual directors that are helping the guy say, is this where the Lord is moving me? Otherwise, we place that entire responsibility on our own shoulders, and that's pretty intimidating. That's pretty exhausting.
Can you share with the listeners, and this is rudimentary and fundamental, but I'll bet you a lot of people don't know, especially about the college seminary, what are the different levels? These 13 men come in. Mm-hmm. What are the different levels of seminary study?
So men who are graduating from high school have the opportunity to apply to college seminary. They go to university on a normal college campus. They study with, thousands of other students, and yet they live in an intentional house of formation called the college seminary, where they take some of their classes, where they have spiritual direction, daily mass, pray the Liturgy of the Hours in common, and study philosophy. And so for men graduating from high school, college seminary is a really great opportunity to grow and be formed as a man of God. It's not as clearly, intentional about priesthood, but more, let's make these men good and holy men that if they go on and get married, guess what? They're going to be better fathers at the end of the day.
Where do we send our young men who are they've graduated high school and they're graduated high school, or they could be in college and then discern and say, I want to go to seminary. So within the 4 college years, where do our guys go?
So for Milwaukee, our men go to St. Joseph College Seminary, which is run by the Archdiocese of Chicago on Loyola Chicago's campus. And so they take some of their courses in-house. They take some of their more general classes at Loyola. And they have a great experience there. They have a phenomenal experience there.
I will just tell you, I've never been to a college seminary in my life. I didn't ever think that any of my sons would go to a college seminary. I sent a guy away who was dating a beautiful young woman and playing college football. And all of a sudden,
he ends up at college seminary.
He did not ask me. He did not discern. We didn't chat. In typical John Lococo manner, he filled out all the paperwork by himself, said nothing, came back and said, hi, I'm leaving college and going to the seminary. Thank you, John, for the information. But he had such an amazing experience. And I have to say, after visiting St. Joseph's, it's beautiful. If you have a young man who might vaguely be interested, go visit. It was great. So
then those with a college degree can apply to major seminary. Okay. And major seminary is typically 4 years of theology studies. However, if a man did not study philosophy beforehand, so I was a business major in college. So
we don't hold it against you.
Okay, thank you. Now I have to market the church after studying marketing. They do 2 years of philosophy in a program called pre-theology, which happens in the major seminary, and then they study theology. So you basically have college seminary for men who don't have a college degree. For men who do have a college degree, they can go to major seminary either in pre-theology or in the theology studies.
And our major seminary is?
St. Francis de Sales, right here in Milwaukee.
And where is it located?
32. It's located right in St. Francis, so just south of the city, right on the lake. One of the most historic seminaries in the country, built in 1857. You got to see it.
You got to see it. I tell people who are atheists, I've been at dinner parties with people who do not believe in God, and I tell them, if you love Milwaukee, go and visit the seminary because it is a jewel in the crown of the architecture. And it is, it's just beautiful. It's the oldest operating seminary in the country. Isn't that correct?
On its existing location, using its existing building.
Okay, so you know what? Marketing.
There.
Work with me. Well, I have so many questions to ask you. Do I get to ask you my personal questions? Here we go.
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't. I'm running the mic here, babe. I am Vice President of Mission Integration at St. Anthony's School. And I happened upon one of the singular most amazing women. Is a true gift from God, and it's a woman religious, Sister Janet. She's from Ecuador. You talked about these young men have never seen a priest before. So it's like countries where they have no children, they've never seen a baby before. But I think, wow, women religious. We trust, you live your life trusting that the Lord sends workers for the vineyard, right? That's the deal, right? He said he would.
Right.
We just have to cultivate them and make it possible for these people to hear his call. Does he still send vocations to the religious life for women?
Definitely.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. The church cannot exist without women's religious. They're essential to the nature of the church.
I experienced it in the last 3 weeks because, she's not, razzle dazzle. She's not on some website. She's just the charism in her person brought back to me the impact of women religious in my personal life. And it's like priming the pump. Like, I think if we had some women religious, and I know we do, but really that were, in our schools is what I'm talking about. The more we would have, the more we would get. And do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I think that young people are looking for a witness. I mean, they're looking for someone that they can look at someone else's life and say, boy, I could live this. Maybe God, is inviting me to live this. And so I'm so grateful for women's religious here in the Archdiocese. I'm so grateful for women's religious around the country who have had the opportunity to meet. And I think that we are seeing a renewal there as well. And we have to be open to encouraging young women to consider entering into religious life and to say, what are those charisms that God has placed on your heart, and how might He bring those charisms to fruition through possibly religious life? And so it's exciting. It's challenging for any young person today to pursue a religious vocation, the vocation of priesthood. It's radically countercultural, and it's not understood by families and friends. And that's why we see the family as just such a foundational element to any young person discerning a call to priesthood or religious life, because they receive, as we talked about earlier, that relational support that is going to give young people the ability to be courageous and take that leap of faith.
Well, I want to finish up. We don't have enough time. I knew we wouldn't. If someone is thinking about being a priest or knows someone who is, make it simple and concrete. Father Luke, what should they do?
You got to pray for the man. You need to walk with him in his journey of, for lack of a better word, in his journey of faith. Encourage him to grow in his relationship with the Lord. If a young man or young woman grows in their prayer life, they're going to discover their vocation. If they're discerning God's will, this isn't some sort of clear strategy we need to figure out. No, we just need to let God work, And so I'd say pray for the young person and encourage them in their walk with the Lord. That is where His call is going to become very clear.
And I want to say this, and I say this as I'm not technically working at the Cousin Center anymore, so I feel a little more free. I think there's a real misconception between the seminary, which is amazing, and I love the seminary, and I'm the biggest supporter, and I run DeChantel, and the vocations office. Is that true? Those are two separate...
Yeah, we work very closely with one another, and yet, they're two different entities, and we need to radically support both. So if anybody feels upon their heart that you would like to monetarily support the vocations office in this archdiocese, you would send your check to Father Luke Strand, Vocations Director in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. I think you get a lot of bang with your buck if you know Father Luke. Everything from running Koryezu and feeding men at a house of discernment to probably paying for travel as he goes around trying to meet each man where they are, and that means emotionally and geographically. So I want to thank you for all you do. Thank you, Lydia.
You're a big support to me, and thanks so much for being here with us, and we hope you'll come back. Please pray for during National Vocations Week, which is coming up on November 2nd through the 9th, and do what you can to encourage anyone in your life who is discerning the priesthood. We are now going to remind you that you can go to thenazarethproject.com for details on all different kinds of things, but especially for this talk with Father Luke. Remember to check out thinkpriest.org for the latest from the Vocations Office. We will take a break right now. When we come back, we'll go through our mailbag, see what's in there, see what you've emailed, and then also look at our community bulletin board. We got some really, really fun stuff coming up, and we don't want you to miss it. You're listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's Uptown Motors' third-generation operator, John Pintler. John, tell us about Uptown.
The cool thing about Uptown is we've served Milwaukee and the Wauwatosa community for 67 years at this point. And we're a firm believer that business and customers can get along and do things in a mutual way here. And what's good for our customers is good for our dealership. And what we really thrive on is having people come back time and time again. A lot of our customers are people I've grown up around. I started out as a lot attendant. I was washing people's cars. I would drive them home when they were here for service. Then I started selling cars and got to work with these people. And now I'm in a position where I get to help structure deals where we find the way to make the payments and the car all come together. And these people really become family.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick. It's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned and Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We are back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio and your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. Thank you for coming back. It's time for our mailbag, our community bulletin board. If you think of a better name, send it in. I don't know. It's my catch-all time to tell you about things that are going on in the Archdiocese. So send me whatever you have by, you can call in, 414-758-2241. Leave your first name and parish if you have any questions. But you can email me anything at nazarethproject@archmill.org. nazarethproject@archmill.org. We have a lot to talk to you about. I'm going to try not to prattle. I have to work at this. We had about 75 women at the Redemptorist Retreat Center for locked in on the most beautiful weekend. We had this gorgeous grounds to walk around. If you've never been to Redemptorist, go out there. They have retreats all year round. But we had Bishop Don Hine for a silent, directed retreat for our annual Deschantel retreat. And I have to say, it was a special time. It was very lovely. If you missed it, you can get the Deschantel retreat in a mini booster shot. You can come to the Deschantel Society. We gather 3 times a year at the seminary, women only. Sorry, guys. And this time it's November the 19th. It's a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Or, if mornings work better, the next morning, a repeat performance, Thursday, November 20th at 9 a.m. Choose the time that works best for you. It's benediction, a meditation, time for prayer. Nobody asks anything of you. It's time for you with the Lord alone. And we'll have a little refreshments after, a little fellowship. Either in the morning, it's juice and coffee, some muffins. In the evening, it's wine and cheese. This time is Father Luke Strand. In fact, our guest today. So he's going to be coming and he'll do our Deschantel. So do come. If you've never come, make yourself go. It's great. November 19th or the 20th. Now, let's talk about what's on our minds right now. Souls for Education. In fact, it's tomorrow. And this might be replaying. You might have earbuds in your ears as you're walking. This Saturday, October 25th at Mount Mary University. It is not too late. Come get in on the fun. I think we already have something like 9,000 people pre-register, but you can register there. Go get the details at CatholicSchoolsWalk.org. CatholicSchoolsWalk.org. Come find me. I'm walking with St. Anthony's School, but every school is represented. It's going to be a great time. The weather is supposed to be stunning. Let's see. What else do I need to remind you about? Okay. If you think I talk about it too much, don't care. It's important, Women of Christ. Get out there on November 1st, Washington County Pavilion. You can register at womenofchrist.net. The best part is the event kicks off with 7:30 a.m. Mass for All Saints Day. It's a holy day of obligation. Perfect. Encounter is the next and last item on my list. Encounter Young Adult Conference. If you're a young adult, go right now and register at arisemissions.org. It's November 8th at the Cousins Center. It's an all-day event with young adults from throughout the Midwest. We have so much going on in this Archdiocese. It's like we're bubbling over. So if you have any questions, comments, email me. If you forgot something, you didn't have a pen or piece of paper, you can go to our website, johnpaul2center.org, and go to the Nazareth Project radio page. And now I want to take a minute for what really matters. When you question your assumptions and thoughts before you act and speak, you find out that the world is a much kinder place than you had imagined. And when you really start looking around and when you communicate honestly with people about what you need, you realize that the world is a loving place full of wonderful people. You can access the love that you need by talking to God about who you are and by reaching out to others in truthfulness. And that's what really matters. Thanks for joining us today on the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. Stay in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter and on our website, nazarethproject.com. Remember, you can call and leave me any kind of voicemails at 758-2241. Today's show and our past show are available online at thenazarethproject.com. Thanks again to Father Luke Strand for joining us. Be sure to visit his new website, thinkpriest.org. Thanks for chatting. I'm Lydia Lococo. We'll talk to you next Friday. God bless your day.
You've been listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Tune in next Friday morning at 9 for more faith, marriage, and family talk with Lydia. And for more information about today's guests and topics, visit thenazarethproject.com.